You may be wondering why I am clutching Paul McCartney in my hand right now. That is, a really good question, and I really understand your concern and why you would want to know that, right? Welcome back. I'm a goth who reads a lot. Welcome to another video. The reason why is because I have this microphone right here. I have been working on trying to get my quality of videos up. I've been trying to get I don't know, what am I talking about? I've been I've been trying to improve the quality of my videos a little bit every single time I make a video. So I have this little microphone here that is hopefully going to make the audio a little bit better. It's kind of low quality, so please let me know if it's okay. If not, I'm going to buy a replacement soon, so don't worry. But it has a little clip on it, and I didn't want to put it on my clothes because I have all this jewelry. And so I feel like if I put it on my shirt, it would, So I wanted to put it on something like pencil or a pen or something, and I couldn't find anything to put it on. And then I looked over here. To what do my wandering eyes do appear? A beautiful Paul McCartney to put the microphone on. So I'm going to be holding this throughout this video. This is he's going to be joining us today. Paul's going to be joining us, and he is doing a very good job at holding the microphone. So everybody say good job, Paul. Yeah, okay. Anyway, so what is this video? You probably already know because you clicked on it and you read the title and you saw the thumbnail and you've already sat here for a full minute and a half or something. This is going to be my July wrap up. Every single month I'm going to try to do a wrap up video where I talk about all the books that I read in that month. I might give you a little idea of what I'm going to be reading the next month, because I'm not going to do separate TBR videos. I'm not the biggest fan of like making those or watching those, so I'm probably not going to do them, but I'll probably give you an idea of like what I'm currently reading, what I'm in the middle of, what my plans are, without giving away any future video ideas, what I'm going to be reading in August. Okay, we're going to get into it. There's 13 books to talk about. If you haven't seen my horror reading vlog that I did, it's my most recent video. For this one, I read 10 books in that video, so the bulk of this video is going to be going over those books. So if you want to see my live reactions to those books, go check out that vlog. It was a really fun time, so go check it out. First of all, before we get into the books, I want to show you my drink of the day. This is my drink of the day. It is an orange cream Coke, most delicious Coke in the whole world. So let's have a sip. Perfect. Let's talk about all the books that I read in July. As I said, I read 13 books. We read 2 audiobooks and 11 physical books. So the first book that I read was when I was in a very, very peak audiobook era. If you have never listened to an audiobook while playing video games, it is an otherworldly experience. It's so fun. It's so relaxing. It's just such a good time. So every now and then I get into a period where I'm not reading physically as much, but I'm just listening to dozens of audiobooks every few weeks, playing Hello Kitty Island Adventure, Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley, just playing my cozy little games and listening to audiobooks. So I was in that era at the beginning of this month. I'm kind of going back into it because I got my Switch too. So expect more audiobooks. I don't know, maybe. But the first book that I read was The Wedding People. This is kind of outside of my usual genres of choice. It's a literary fiction, kind of like contemporary book. It's more of like a think piece. But I really wanted to read it because it was one of those books last year that was like on the lists of like best books of the year. It was winning awards. It was up top on Audible, Goodreads, everywhere. And all the other books that were on in that same vein, I had read. I read The Ministry of Time, I read The Book of Doors, like all the books that were like winning awards and getting top place in Goodreads choice awards and stuff, I had already read. So I was like, let's read The Wedding People. Maybe I'll like it, because there was a book, when people recommend The Wedding People, they say if you liked The Husbands, you would really like The Wedding People. And I loved The Husbands. It was one of my favorite literaries that I've ever read. What is The Wedding People about? It is basically, it's this woman who's really had a rough past few years. She's a professor at a school, but she hasn't published anything in years. Her husband divorced her for another woman, and she's just really, not happy. So she goes to this resort. She books this resort and plans to kill herself there. And when she gets there, she realizes there's a ginormous wedding at this resort, and she is the only person booked in the hotel that is not attending this wedding. So everyone around her is like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, life is so beautiful. And she came there to kill herself. And she's like, I can't do it now because I'll be the talk of this people's wedding. It'll traumatize them. And so it's kind of, she meets the bride and they talk, and she kind of figures out more about the wedding and the dynamics of the family and all this stuff. And it's a very, like, most of this book takes place in like conversations. Like most of this book is her having conversations with the bride having conversations with her, like just all this dialogue and all this insight into these characters, where you kind of start to just kind of piece together a happy ending for them. And it was very interesting. If you can hear a bell, I don't know if you can hear that, Boots is here. He might come up and ruin my camera angle, but I don't know. Just leave him to it. He's just a little baby. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a really good audiobook. That what do you call it? The voice actor? The narrator? The narrator was really good. I really like her style of narration, and so it was a really easy book to get through. But honestly, it didn't leave as much of a mark on me as I thought it was going to, and it didn't have like as impactful of an ending as I wanted it to. So it kind of just like not fell flat, but it was just kind of like it was over, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll read another book now. Like I didn't really need any time to like reflect or think about it or anything like that. Yeah. So it was a good book. Like it was very interesting. It had a lot of emotion in it, and it wasn't like a waste of my time, but it didn't stick with me. Next, I finally finished a book that I was in the middle of for weeks, because as we know, well, you may not know, but I've been in a reading slump like this whole year. So it's been rough, okay? But I read Soul Eater by Mayne. This was interesting. This is a monster romance, a gay monster romance, okay? And it's the first in a series. It's a very long series, but I think all the books are pretty short. And it's on Kindle Unlimited, and it basically follows this soldier named Danny, and we're in this like dystopian post-apocalyptic world. And so Danny's in the army, I guess. And basically the main point of the military is to get rid of these like monster creatures. They literally just call them monsters. Like there's all these different like creatures from a different dimension that kind of cause this that kind of caused this post-apocalyptic world that we're living in at this point. I mean, they eat people's souls, they kill people, they are evil supposedly. So to survive, he joins the military, and he is put on task with like communicating with this monster called the Soul Eater. Things go from there, I guess. I don't know. I feel like I shouldn't say much more than that because it's a pretty short book and I don't want to like give anything away. But it was good for what it was. Like it was a good read. I think I would have liked it more if I hadn't like read it in such small quantities, because I really did like I was reading this for like weeks. And it's literally like 300 pages. So I kind of like felt less favorable towards it as it went on, because it was taking me so long to finish it because of my reading slump. So I'm trying not to like discredit it for that, but it was good. It is spicy. I feel like I should probably like put somewhere on the screen whether they're spicy or not. I don't know. There is spice in it. I really did enjoy the characters. Like that was my favorite part about this book. I did find like the conflict within the romance to be a little bit exhausting because it didn't really make sense. Like Danny would get over his insecurities and feel secure in a relationship, and then one small thing would happen and he would go through the same bit of character growth over and over and over again. And especially with Danny, it was just really frustrating to watch a character like learn something, grow, and then go back and have to learn it again over and over and over again in the 300-page book. Like that was a little frustrating. I did really like, I want to see what his name was. I think his name was Eden. He's the character in the next book. And I think maybe at some point I'll continue the series. I'm not like dying to continue it, but they are pretty short. They're all like 450, 300 pages. So I think I will continue the series eventually if I ever want like just a smutty, quick monster romance. It's good. I would recommend it if you're looking for queer fantasy with like a little bit of a dystopian vibe. If you like monster romance in general, I think it's good. I think it was a good time. And I do think that it had like a promising setup for the rest of the series. So if you are looking for like a series, I think there's 7 books, so, and some novellas, so there's a lot to get through. If you are looking for something like that, I definitely would recommend it. I just think there were little bits about it that I found frustrating, but I do think that most of that was because it took me so long to read it because of my reading slump. So yeah, definitely give it a try if it sounds interesting. And like I said, I probably will continue the series eventually. It's not like high priority, but eventually. Okay. Next, I read The Inmate by Freida McFadden. Now, when I was in my audiobook era, like I said, this is an audiobook that I read, but when I was in this audiobook era at the beginning of the month and last month, I was reading a lot of Freida McFadden books because I read The Boyfriend in June and I loved it. So I've been working my way through all of her books because she has so many books. She releases like 2 a year. So I've just been listening to so many Freida McFadden audiobooks. So I listened to The Inmate, and this book I listened to in an entire day. It was like 5 hours on 2 times speed. So I just listened listened to the whole thing and played my video games, it kind of slipped completely out of my brain. So I'm going to try to explain it to you, explain the plot to you, but if I get something wrong, hey, who am I to say? Okay. The inmate basically follows this woman, and she has a 10-year-old son. And we quickly learn that her son she had him as a teenager, and we learn that his father is in prison. Okay. And we kind of don't really know like why he's in prison, but we know that it has to do with her. Like there was some sort of incident while they were together in high school that has traumatized her, led to him being in prison, and got her pregnant. She got pregnant at the same time. So she's moving to a new city or something. Is she moving to a new city? I don't know. But she's a nurse and she starts to work at this correctional facility, this prison. I don't even know why she took the job, because to me I'm like, are you dumb? But she quickly finds out that the father of her baby, her ex-boyfriend who traumatized her for life, is in this prison. And so she's kind of exploring that, and oh yeah, she did move, because she moves back to her hometown to take this job because she has no other way, because she has to, I think she's living in her parents' old house or something. Her parents died. I don't know. Like I said, I don't remember a lot of things, so if any of this is not right, I'm sorry. But she's moving into a new house, and so she gets back in touch with one of her childhood best friends, and he's kind of helping her out. At the same time, she starts communicating with people in the prison and learning more about her child's father. And she starts to figure out that there's more to this story of the night that she was traumatized and everything happened. There's more to the story than she remembers. And she's kind of like figuring out what she really remembers to be true and all this kind of stuff. So I'm sorry if I spoiled anything with that. I don't know. It's only 300 pages, so I'm sorry. I don't know. Anyway, I liked this. But out of all the Freida McFadden books I've read like 3 or 4 now. I would say this is probably my least favorite. The characters were the main issue for me. My thing with Freida McFadden is I usually either love the characters, like just unironically love them, or I love to hate them. Like I find them so awesome and so fun to read about because they're so obnoxious. And that's what I think her strength is that her characters are so unique. They're so distinct, and they're such like they're very over the top characters. And so with this book, I felt like that wasn't really true. And I just kind of felt like there was nothing interesting about these characters, and at the same time they were very predictable. And so even when there was a twist that I didn't see coming after the 3 twists before that I did see coming, I was just bored at that point. Like I was checked out. I didn't care. So yeah, it was a quick read. Like I said, I read it in a day. It kept my attention. But if you're looking to get into Freida McFadden, or you want a quick, fun, satisfying thriller, I would say go for something else. If you want another Freida McFadden book, my favorite so far has been The Boyfriend. I also just finished The Crash, and that one was a little bit grueling to get through, but I did really like the payoff. So I'm gonna keep getting into her books, so I'll keep you updated on what my favorites are. But this one was kind of a flop for me. I don't regret reading it, but it was kind of a flop. Okay. Next, we're going to be talking about all 10 books that I read in my horror reading vlog. Like I said, go check that out if you haven't seen it already. Very, very fun video. It is going to be a regular occurrence. I'm going to be doing horror themed reading vlogs on the reg, so get excited. A lot of these books are short stories or novellas. Okay. This one was Test Town, the first one that I read. This one was only like 25 pages. This was amazing. Like, honestly, if you're one of those people that thinks that short stories or novellas can't be like out of this world amazing, I implore you to keep reading, because there are some that I've read that are just amazing. And this was one of them. It had such compelling characterization from the very beginning, and the way that she set up the story. Like I find with a lot of short stories, especially short horror stories, the story always starts with them being like, she was 22 years old. She had a best friend. She had a brother. The 3 of them are camping. This is their first time camping. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just tells you all of this stuff, and then there's blood and guts and gore. But this one really felt like I was reading a story. It didn't feel like 23 pages. Once it was over, I was like, that's it. The pacing was just perfect for this size of a book, and the horror itself was really, really insane. Like, imagery was crazy. It was really, really crazy. It was brutal in the end, but the lead up to it was really, really good payoff, and there was like kind of a false ending before the real ending, and all of that mixed together, it was just a ride. It took me like 12 minutes to read. It was a fucking ride. Okay, it was awesome. I really, really recommend this if you're looking for a quick, fast splatterpunk book. It was really, really good. I really liked it. Next, I read Camp Slaughter. This is the first of the Slaughter books by Sergio Gomez. And this one, I said in my horror reading vlog that I have conflicting feelings about it. I still have conflicting feelings about it because looking back, I liked my experience reading it and I liked the book overall. And I do think that I'm going to continue the series, but I don't know if it's like good. Like if I was like, oh, that was a good book. Maybe I'm just bored and I want to read more horror and I just think this is good enough to continue. You know what I mean? Overall, it had some really disturbing moments, like certain moments with like sorry, I didn't explain the plot of this book. Wait. So basically, it's kind of a messy plot because there's so many groups of characters that we're following, but basically there's this camp cabin in the woods is being rented out for people to come and visit and like sit there and, you know, when you rent a cabin, summertime, fun, okay? But not far away from the cabin, which is in the middle of the woods. It's like way out, just middle of nowhere, okay? But a little whiles away, there is a cannibal living in the woods. And so we follow the cannibal. We follow a few people in, there's a prequel, like prologue chapter where we follow a first batch of people entering the cabin and encountering the cannibal. There's people that are recording a documentary about the cannibal. There's teenagers coming to visit. There's all this stuff going on, and it's just this big mess. Okay. This book was messy, and I don't just mean like the gore. This book was just really messy, and it had a lot of character work that I think kind of was almost for nothing because we had scenes where it was just a flashback from one character's point of view for like 20 pages. This flashback was, and it's like, I don't need all of this for a 260-page book. I know it's a series, but most of these characters died. You know what I mean? Like, it's a horror book. Most of them died. So why did we get so much on them? Because I think it was supposed to make me more emotional at their deaths, which it did in a sense, but it wasn't necessarily necessary. It wasn't particularly like important in the end to know everything that I knew after all of these pages, you know? I did enjoy it. I did get bored a few times, but like I said, I do want to continue the series. So do with that as you will. Next, we have 100% Match. This was so good. This is under 100 pages, cute little novella. Cute little novella, I say, about a splatterpunk book. Wow, okay. But basically, we're following, I forget his name. What was his name? Bart. Yes, Bart. We're following Bart, or Bartholomew, and he is looking for his 100% match. He's looking for his perfect woman. He has all these expectations and thoughts about who this perfect woman is and how he's going to get her to marry him, and he's very, very focused on that. And so we follow his daily life. Maybe he met his 100% match. I don't know. This was so good. It was so disgusting. And like I said, you know when there's characters that you just love to hate? Like, I loved to hate Bart. Like, he was so disgusting. Every single thing he did, I was cringing and throwing up in my mouth. And yet, I loved it because it was just so perfect. Like, it was so perfectly gross that it was so rewarding to read this book because of the way that it ended and because of the way that it was structured. It was just such a rewarding book. It was very, very well paced. It was genuinely just a fun read. Like, it was funny, it was gross, it was disturbing. It had so many little moments that were just done in one sentence, but they packed such a punch that you were like, and you were like, and then you would just move on to the next chapter, and you're like, how do I move on from learning that information about our character? Like, this is crazy. And it just was so, I just really, really liked this one. It stuck with me. I'm definitely going to be reading more by this author. Yeah, I really recommend it. Honestly, if you're into extreme horror splatterpunk, it's on Kindle Unlimited. Next, we have Scarlet by Brian Bowyer. This one is really, really short. Oh, and I got it on Godless. Okay. It's basically this woman. She's down on her luck, just got divorced, blah, 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 blah. Living in New York City. She meets this man and he says he has a haunted painting. And that's all I'm going to tell you because it's really, really short. This was a good read. And I feel like I can't discredit it or like talk too badly about it or like criticize it too deeply because it was so short. And I liked it generally, but it just kind of lacked something that made me think like this is not going to be a memorable book. This is not going to be like something I think about unless I'm doing a video and I have to say that I read it. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't really thought about it. It was worth the $2 I paid for it. It was worth the time that I spent reading it, but that's about it. Then I read No One Rides for Free by Judith Sonnet. This book was a ride. And I'm sorry for continuing to make that pun, but it genuinely was a ride. It was actually so insane to read this book. So I just want to say, before you look this up, before you're like, ooh, I want to read this, even if you are a seasoned extreme horror reader, this has very, 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 very graphic and disgusting rape. And so if you are not okay with reading sexual assault in the slightest, do not read this book. Like, don't take a chance. It had like 3 different warnings throughout the book saying, stop reading here if you're screaming, like, stop reading here, because it's so intense. It's a very intense book. But what the author says at the end of the book is that she wanted to make a book for survivors like her that is so disgusting and horrifying and hard to read, but then it has a satisfying ending. Because for a lot of people in real life, there is no satisfying ending. You're just traumatized for life after this horrible thing has happened to you. So she wanted to make a book that kind of eased that and kind of made you feel horrible throughout the whole book because you're reading about this disgusting, horrible situation, but it has a satisfying ending. And I think she achieved that perfectly. It was almost cathartic to get to the last few pages of this book after everything it puts you through. With that being said, I almost DNF'd it like 3 separate times and had to take like 20-minute breaks because I was like, I don't know if I can finish this or if it's worth finishing. But with that being said, I'm really glad I read the whole thing. I think it did exactly what she wanted it to do. And I think this is a really important style of extreme horror that we need more of. That is really just about sticking it to the bad guy and like having a satisfying ending for people who have gone through horrible things, whether they're fictional or real. It was so satisfying, and I've been thinking about it a lot, to be honest. I'm definitely going to read more of Judith Sonnet's work. That was No One Rides for Free. Then I read Eternal Flower of Your Soul. This is another godless book. I believe it just came out. This was awesome. This was really amazing. If you like body horror and you want a quick little read, this was perfect. It's basically following this guru. She's like um a tidiness, cleanliness, mindfulness guru, and she's teaching the camera, the audience, how to achieve perfection. Basically, this was like the body horror and the mutilation and the just everything was so like not hard to get through because I've definitely read worse, unfortunately. It was like I was literally like, oh my, because it was so like I could picture what was happening, and I was like, so sorry, but my phone turned off the camera because the flash was making my phone too hot. I don't know. I didn't even know that was a thing. But we're back. I don't remember what I was talking about because it's been like half an hour my time. So moving on to the next book. I'm sorry. Then I read Black Cat Bones by Brian Bowyer. This is the same author as Scarlet. This one was good. It was very, very, very sad. Like it was really like it was disturbing in like a sad way. Like it was just so like it had some things. There was this one thing in this book that like I still think about and I'm like, that is so sad and so disturbing. And I bet things like that happen in real life, unfortunately, even though it sounds too like crazy to imagine it happening in real life. I bet it does happen in real life. I'd recommend it. It was good. It's very reflective. It just follows a little girl. She's the daughter of a heroin addict and she kind of just wanders the street and finds all kinds of things. So it was all right. Nothing to write home about. Anyway, then I read The Screaming Tree, and this is by the same author as 100% Match. The Screaming Tree was really, really good. I will say the one thing I didn't like about this book was the ending being so predictable. Like, I'm not even mad that the ending was what it was. I'm just mad at how predictable it was. I wish that it had come on and hit you a little bit harder, but unfortunately, I saw it coming a mile away. But basically, this is a book about, it's very short, but it's about this town where there's this tree grows in the woods and it whispers to people and tells them to kill themselves or kill each other. That's all I'm going to say. It was so good. It was such perfect horror imagery. Like, it was so scary, like genuinely scary, the things that it was like describing and the things that were happening. It was genuinely scary. It was genuinely just such a good read for what it was. I mean, it was only like 20, 30 pages or something, but it was just really worth the read. I'd really recommend it. I honestly wish that this was like part of a larger series or part of a larger book because it almost sounds like Stephen King-esque, the synopsis and like the imagery and stuff that I was feeling. It was giving me Stephen King vibes. Like I feel like he would have stretched this out and made this like an 800-page book. But it was really good. I liked it a lot. Then I read 2 really, really, really short books, like 5-10 pages each. Truck Stop Diner and The Portal in the Woods. So Truck Stop Diner is basically just this guy comes into a diner, he's telling his life story, And at first they're like, oh, what a nice man. And then they're like, wait, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? It's only like 6 pages. There's not really much for me to say. It was all right, you know, as good as a 6 page book can be. Then I read The Portal in the Woods. This was very lackluster. I do think this needed a lot of work just because the story kind of tells itself within the first like 1 or 2 pages, and then it just keeps going for another 10 pages. And I just didn't really understand like the vision. I just feel like the way that this story was presented to us, it was it was just like, it was self-explanatory. Like I already knew exactly what was going to happen every step of the way within the first paragraph of the book. So I do think it needed some like work on like the pacing or maybe the structure of the story. I wouldn't say that I wouldn't read another one of the author's books ever again. I think I would try another one, but maybe not right now. Maybe I'll give him some time to grow as an author and then I'll try another one of his books. Those are all the books that I read in July. That's that. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you've read any of these, what you think of them, if you have any recommendations for me, what I should read next. Right now, I'm in the middle of a few books. I just finished The Crash by Freida McFadden last night. Really liked that. I'm in the middle of a book that I got on Godless called Blasphemy, and I'm loving it. Like, loving it. I can't wait to talk about it in my August wrap up. It's such a good book so far. I have like a third of it left, I think. What else am I reading? Everything else is pretty much for video, so I'm gonna keep it under wraps, but I'm getting back into my fantasy era, reading lots of horror and thrillers as well. Those are my two main genres right now, and I think it's gonna stay that way for probably forever because those are my two favorite genres historically speaking. I'm just like kind of rediscovering that as I'm getting out of my reading slump and getting more into reading more books. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a friend. Thank you for being here. Let me know which beetle you want to be the microphone holder next time. I've got all 4 beetles, so let me know which beetle you want next. And I'll do a different we'll do a different beetle every time I have to use a microphone. I'll do a different beetle. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for all the support. Recently I've been getting really positive reception since I've been posting consistently. So thank you very much. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. Okay, bye bye.